All right. So since we are having our presentation of A Baby Changes Everything this evening, I thought I would preach a sermon about, I needed to do another baby sermon, right? And I'm going to get there in a few minutes. It's going to take me a little bit to get there. It is going to be about babies. I'm going to tell you what. I think it is going to be about two babies that you have never heard a sermon on in your life. I don't care how long you've been hearing preachers. I'm willing to bet you've never heard a sermon on these two babies. I've never preached a sermon on these two babies. In fact, I'm going to be real honest with you. Before this past week, if you had asked me who those two babies' daddy was, I would have told you their grandfather was their daddy. This is going to, pardon? This is going to be a tricky one. All right, no, but we're going to get there. But look, so let me start with Philippians chapter 3. That's going to be in Genesis chapter 41, and we're going to get over there in just a few minutes. But we're going to start in Philippians chapter 3. So in Philippians chapter 3, verses 13 and 14, I'm going to start with kind of what I did with the kids a while ago. Paul says, not that I have already attained or I'm already perfected. He said, but I press on so that I may lay hold of that, for which Christ Jesus has laid hold of me. I do not count myself to have apprehended, but there's one thing that I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to those things which are ahead, I press toward the goal for the prize of the upward call in Christ Jesus. Paul says basically this. The sermon today is really simple. Paul says basically this. In order for me to press forward, I'm going to have to let go of what's behind. It's kind of the idea that I did with, and them almost beat me, by the way. It's a good thing I had that one last big jar, right? But at some point, you're going to have to let go of something in order to take hold of something. And Paul is making that point here. If you want to take hold of the things that God has for you today, and if you want to take hold of things that God has for you in the future, tomorrow and the next day, for some of us, there are some things back behind us that we're going to have to let go of. Because here's the fact of the matter. Look, everyone has had life happen to them. Yes or no? Everyone has had life happen to them. Everyone has had disappointments. Everyone has had their heart broken. Everyone can tell you a story of some kind of real hardship or real tragedy. Everyone has been hurt. Everyone has been sad. Everyone has had things happen to them in their life that if they are not careful, those things will drag them down, hold them back, and keep them from reaching forward and taking hold of the things that God has for them today and even tomorrow. Got to let go of the past in order to take hold of the future. It's one of the things that I've learned. Last week I had you all look around. You were looking for old people and young people. You were looking at the people. I could have you look around again today. I won't ask you to do that, but just kind of do that in your mind. I'm telling you, there's one thing that I've learned as a pastor, is that everybody in this room right now, I'm going to say bar none, and even though I don't personally know, I know. Everybody in this room right now could tell you a story of heartbreak and heartache and sadness. Everybody in this room could tell you a story right now that has affected their life in some way, shape, form, or fashion in a negative way. And what Paul is saying here is what we got to have to learn to do is we're going to have to let go of that. Because here's what Satan does. He won't let you let go of that. Because he knows if you will keep holding on to that and keep grabbing hold and looking back and focusing on what was back there, he knows that then you won't focus on what's in front, and then you won't reach forward and you won't press forward for the prize. He won't let you let go of it. That's why when you lay down in your bed at night, that's all you think about. Right? Somebody's done something to you. Somebody's hurt you. Hurt you bad. I'm saying legitimate. I'm saying they've really hurt you and it's been legitimate. And you have the right to be mad and you have the right to be angry. What I am saying, though, is that in order to receive the things that God has for you tomorrow and even today, we're going to have to let go of that's back there. We're going to have to let go. Satan ain't going to let you. He ain't going to let you. He keeps bringing it up, right? He keeps playing it over in your mind, right? You play it over again and again and again. It's like he's got a little DVD and it's just on repeat and it's just on replay. And all the time, all through your life, all through the day, anytime you think you relax a little bit, boom, it just replays again and again and again and again. And instead of letting go, you actually become more bitter. Instead of letting go, you actually become more sad and more sorrowful. Instead of letting go, you become more angry, right? No, seriously, am I totally off base here? Yeah, I don't. Am I totally off base here? I don't think I am. Paul says I've got to learn, and we've got to learn to let go of the past, because Satan's going to use it as great, big, giant, heavy chains that he's going to put around your neck. And it's sorrow, and it's sadness, and it's anger, and it's revenge, and it's guilt, and it's sin, and it's all of those things, and just consequences to choices that we've made. And it's all of those things. And they just weigh us down and weigh us down and weigh us down. But they're all in the past. And we need to learn to let go. All right, so. Sorry about that. Debbie's cringing. Just pray for the healing of that throat. So y'all remember the story of a guy named Joseph. Just out of curiosity, and my family is not allowed to answer this question because I already did it to them last night. And I can tell you that if my wife didn't know the answer, I can promise you no. I mean, because she's like, knows the Bible better than me. Does anybody know who Joseph's sons were? Can you tell me the name of Joseph's sons? No. It's a good answer, though. When in doubt, say Jesus. When in doubt, the answer is always Jesus. How many of you knew Joseph even had any sons? Okay. So look, here's Joseph, all right? So Joseph is born to Jacob. Joseph is Jacob's favorite son, because he was a son that he had in his later age. He's not his youngest son, but he's his second to the youngest son. He thought he was going to be his last son. He was also the firstborn son to, I'm just going to say it, but he was the firstborn son of his favorite wife. Yeah, he had a not so favorite wife, but anyhow, he was the firstborn son of his favorite wife. He was the son of his old age. He loved Joseph. And he made Joseph a special coat. Well, because of his love for Joseph, all of his brothers were extremely jealous. Well, then one day when Joseph is in his teens, probably a young teenager, he starts having these dreams. Now, this is all in the Bible. You can look it up. I promise you I'm not making any of this up. I might not be using the exact words the Bible uses, but I promise you I'm not making any of this up. Joseph begins to have these dreams. And in these dreams, they represent the fact that one day his family, including his father and mother, are going to bow down and worship him. That he is going to be the head over them. Well, this just sent his brothers into a tailspin. Dad didn't like it too much either. I mean, he's like, what you think I'm going to bow down to you? You think you're going to be over me? But he began to have these dreams. So one day, the brothers went out to tend the sheep. And Jacob said, Joseph, you go out there with them. I'll send you out there to go with them. And so here goes young Joseph, and he comes trotting out there, and they see him coming down the road, and they go, here comes that dreamer. What do you think we ought to do? Let's kill him. Yeah. No, one of them speaks up and says, no. He is our brother after all. Our dad does love him after all. It would break our dad's heart. We're not going to kill him. So they grab him and they throw him in a pit. And they're eating lunch and trying to decide what to do. And along comes a caravan, a Midianite caravan. And so they said, I know what we'll do. Let's just sell him as a slave. Let's get rid of him. So they drug him out of the pit. They sold him as a slave to this Midianite caravan. He eventually finds his way into Egypt. They take his coat, they take the special coat, and they kind of tear it up, put some blood on it, and take it home and tell Dad, like a bear or something killed him. Tell him that a wild beast killed him. Of course, Dad believes it. And so he finds himself in Egypt. And when he's in Egypt, he kind of gets connected to a guy named Potiphar. Potiphar likes him. Joseph's a good guy. He's a good worker. He's an honest man. And so he becomes the head over Potiphar's whole house. Well, apparently he was also kind of good looking because Potiphar's wife also desired him, and so she began to pursue him and she began to try to seduce him. Of course, Joseph ain't having no part of it. He can't do it. And so eventually it gets to the place where, he finally just has to run out of the room at one point. She just gets after him. And he has to run out of the room, and she pulls his cloak off of him. And so when her husband comes home, she cries rape, and she's got the cloak. And so he gets thrown into prison. So while he's in prison, a couple more guys get thrown into prison, and they are the butler and the baker and the butler. Is that right? That is right. I'm not making this up. It's the baker and the butler. I think it's the butler. I know it's the baker and the butler, and they get thrown into prison too. Well, they have these dreams. They have these strange dreams, and so Joseph interprets them. And so one of them gets his head chopped off, but the other one gets put back on his position. So one day, the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, he has this dream that he just cannot interpret. And it's a dream about famine. I think there's 7 large cows and there's 7 lean cows, and the lean cows eat up the large cows. And he wants to know this dream is just killing him. He needs to know what it means. And so the baker or the butler, whichever one didn't lose his head, is still alive. And he goes, hey, when you had me in prison, well, there's this guy there in prison, and he can interpret dreams. In fact, he told us one of us was going to get our heads cut off, And so he calls Joseph out, and Joseph gives him the interpretation of the dream. And really, I guess you might be losing this, but really what I'm trying to point out and what I'm trying to make you understand is that life was less than ideal for Joseph. His brothers hated him. They actually wanted to kill him, but instead they just sold him into slavery. He was in a foreign land and was seduced by a woman. He didn't want to have anything to do with her. He gets accused of rape and basically convicted of rape and thrown into prison. Well, now he'll get out because he'll interpret the dream, and he'll tell him, look, that means you're going to have 7 years of good, healthy harvest. You're going to have 7 years of famine, and the 7 years of famine are going to just be able to devour the 7 years of healthy harvest before that. The king says, what do we do? And Joseph gets put in charge. Joseph basically becomes number 2 in the entire kingdom of Egypt. And during the healthy years, they put a lot aside for the lean years. That's really not important to the story. It's what happened, but it's not important to the story that I'm telling today. Joseph had a tough time. And when this famine comes, God is going to use it to bring his family down to Egypt where he is. Now, I got to tell you, if I had 11 brothers that wanted to murder me and that threw me into a pit and then sold me into slavery and told Dad I had died, and then as fate would have it, they would have to come to me and beg me for some food, I'm not so sure I wouldn't exact a little revenge. I'm just being honest. But you know what? We're going to have to let go. You see, Joseph, something happens to Joseph in verse 50 of chapter 41 of Genesis. And it's before the years of famine came. To Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of the famine came. whom Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera, priest of On, bore to him. And Joseph called the name of the first one Manasseh. He said, because God has made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. So his firstborn son, he names him Manasseh. Apparently it means forgetting. And he gave him this name because God had helped him forget everything that went on before. He said, God had helped me forget all of the toil, all of the struggles, all of the strife, all of the difficulties that my father's house had brought upon me. Now let me, I don't know if I want to ask you this or just have you think about this. Do you think it completely went away from his memory? It didn't. And in saying that God has helped him forget, he's not saying that I don't even remember it anymore, because if he said I don't remember it anymore, then he couldn't even write about it if he didn't remember it anymore. But what he was saying is, God has helped me to let go. God has helped me to not have a desire for revenge. God has helped me to not let it just eat away at my gut and eat away at my soul day after day after day after day. God has helped me to find a way to have forgiveness. God has helped me to find a way to look at it from a different perspective. In fact, when his brothers do come to see him later on in life, and it's in Genesis chapter 50, and it's in fact in verse 20, he says to them, he says, hey, you meant it for evil. He says, but God meant it for good. He says, I know that you wanted to kill me. I know that you hated me. I know that you meant for the worst to come to me. That's the way you meant it. He said, but I'm going to tell you something. God actually has used it. How has he used it? Well, guess what? I'm able to provide for you guys right now. Because of the way that God has used me, now I'm able to take care of my family. Actually, not even just my family, but the people that are starting to become a great nation because of them. He says, now I'm able to take care of you. You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. A different perspective. A way to let go of the anger. A way to let go of the hate. That's what God does for us. Look, we're real good at Romans 8:28. We're real good at quoting and throwing around Romans 8:28. For all things work together for good to those who love God, those who are the called according to his purposes. Do you really believe that? Now let me ask you. Do you really believe that everything works together for good? That God, okay? Then let it go. Then let it go. Right? I can't say that everything works together for good if I'm still going to hold on to it, and I'm still going to hold on to my anger, and I'm still going to hold on to my hate, and I'm still going to hold on to my hurt, and I'm still going to hold on to my revenge, and I'm still going to hold on to all that. I can't say that God is going to use that and make something good while I still hold on to it. And that's why this baby changes everything. Because this baby, it's going to be born right there. This is Bethlehem, by the way. That baby sheds God's love and God's forgiveness into our hearts so that we can in turn have the same thing to abound to others. You see, here's the truth. And again, I know you've been hurt. I know you've had your heart broken. I know you've been sad. I know. And I believe you, and I get it, and I understand it. But God, in his love, gives you the capacity to forgive. He really does. It don't feel like it, but he really does. God, in his grace, and because of that child, he gives you the capacity to let go of that desire for revenge. He really does. And though you may become totally justified, look, we got to let it go. I'm naming him Manasseh because he is helping me to forget, because I am going to forget all of that God has done. He has another son, the second son, verse 52, and he called his name Ephraim. Ephraim means, I think as best I could tell, it means twice fruitful or doubly fruitful or fruitful times two. He said, but he named his name Ephraim because God in the land of my affliction. He didn't say God delivered me from my land of affliction and then caused me to be fruitful. He didn't say that God's fruitfulness led me out of the land of affliction. He says God has made me fruitful right here in the land of my affliction. I'm telling you that God has given us and God offers us the power to overcome the things of this world. We live in a real world. We live in a real world with real life. And your heart gets broken. And you find yourself in extreme disappointment. And you find yourself facing real tragedy that really hurts. And you find people treating you in such a ways that are truly, truly, I don't want to say they're unforgivable, but that's the way they feel. And that's the way that it happens to us. We live in a real world where these real things really happen, and there's only one real way that we're ever going to overcome, and that is through that baby that was born on that first Christmas day in that manger in Bethlehem. He changes everything. You only will have the power to overcome. You only will have the power to forgive. You only will have the power to get past your heartbreaks, your failures. You will only have the power to get past your disappointments. You will only have the ability to be fruitful right here in this land where all of these things continue to happen when the spirit of that child lives inside of you. And when you have given yourself completely to him. Here's the big deal. You know, we have to let go of some things to take hold of some things. We have to let go of that anger. We have to let go of that hate. We have to let go of that unforgiveness in order to receive the things that God has set before us. Here's ultimately what it comes down to. You see what all that really is? The unforgiveness, the anger, the hatred, the revenge, and the desire for it and all that. You know what all that really is? It's really me. You see, that's what I want. You know, we like to say, well, I just wish I could forgive him. No, I don't. Really, you don't. Really, you don't. Really, you want to hold on to that. Really. You really do. Because you want to, you somehow think, we somehow think that our anger towards them is hurting them when it's really not. It's really just hurting us. But we don't want to forgive them. We don't. It feels like letting them off the hook, right? I mean, really, it does. It feels like letting them off the hook. We don't want to do that. We want them to hurt. We want them to suffer just like we hurt and just like we suffer. You see, it's really about me. It's really me. If I really want to take hold of the things that God has for me, I am going to have to let go of me. I'm going to have to let go of myself and open up my hands and open up my heart and open up my life to that baby who was born, who lived, and he died on that cross for my sins and for your sins. And he came alive the third day. And guess what? He's coming back again someday. Really soon, I hope. Really soon, I kind of think, really. But, I mean, I don't know. But I think, maybe. I hope. But I don't know. I'm just a redneck preacher. In Southeast Texas, trying to tell you to let go of what's behind and press forward to what's in front so that you can take hold of that for which Christ has taken hold of you. You're going to have to take hold of him. Let go of me. Take hold of him. Stand up with me, if you would. I don't know. You know what? I don't know what God may be doing. Let me come out the door here. I don't know what God may be doing in your life. I don't know where you are spiritually right now. I don't know what God is doing in you, with you, and through you. But listen, just let go. Let go of whatever you need to let go of so that you can take hold
Maybe it's happening right now. Maybe it's right now. Just let go of yourself, your own pride, your own wants, your own desires, your own wishes, so that you can take hold of the things that God has for you. Only God is going to help me forget. Only God is going to make me fruitful, even right here in this life. If you need to come forward for any reason this morning, we're going to sing a couple verses of
He knows my name.
He Knows My Name. We're going to sing a verse or two of that, and you can come forward during this time. If you want to just come and kneel and pray, you can do that. If you want me to pray with you, I'd love to do that. Whatever you need to do this morning, however God is at work in your life, if you need to come forward, you come.